Yo, what's going on? This is Kurt and I'm back for another video. The topic of my video today is Astrology 102, the Psychonautic Cube of Divine Individuality. The Psychonautic Cube of Divine Individuality, Astrology 102. Today, I want to break astrology in a way that is simple, clear, understood, but in a way that can help you move forward spiritually and give you practical things to do to use astrology and to understand what astrology is and what astrology is not. Because what astrology is not a science of prediction, and astrology is not something that binds you and that forces you in one way or one way of being. So now, to understand the import of astrology, you must grasp the concept of the unconscious collective. The 12 zodiac signs are the unconscious collective. Let me repeat this. The 12 zodiac signs are the unconscious collective. The elemental residues or imbalances in the air, fire, water, and earth elements are what we call zodiac signs. What is the air element? The air element is your thoughts, your words, your intellect. The water, your emotions, your beliefs, your convictions. The earth, your personal spaces, your possessions, and your physical boundaries. The fire, your actions, your passions, and your impulses. Now, in their primordial form, the four elements are always pure. In their primordial form, the four elements are always pure. However, expressed through humans that are imperfect, traumatized, wounded, complexed, and full of pain, the elements contained within human psyches and emotional bodies become impure. What are the four elements? Air, water, earth, and fire. But what are the four elements? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. What are the 12 zodiac signs? Every astrological sign represents the impure form of an elemental instinct. For example, the air element. Okay, so for example, we could use the air element. Gemini is lying, flattery, deception. An impure form of the elemental instinct of water is the zodiac sign of Pisces, which would be passivity, avoidance, and flight. When you go through the 9 months in the waters of your mother's womb, it is there that you acquire your specific set of elemental imbalances, which is what we call your astrological birth chart. Those are the basic natural inclinations that you receive from the unconscious collective through your genetics. Astrology or your birth chart tells you at your core how do you utilize the four elements in the most unconscious way. It doesn't tell you that you are doomed to or will absolutely be this or that way. Now, what is the purpose of your astrological birth chart? It's very simple. As a being coming from darkness and coming into a space completely foreign to you, you need to have basic instincts and hunches to help guide and navigate your life. It ain't perfect, but it will help you survive. That's your birth chart. Your birth chart is a map it's a survival kit, and it's a document to allow you to navigate your life on the multiple dimensions that you exist on. The reason I explain this in this way is to make you understand that when I'm speaking about astrology, I'm not speaking about the stars influencing our behavior. I'm not interested in that. I can't prove it, nor can I disprove it. But in fact, it has nothing to do with the goal of spirituality. The goal of spirituality is evolution. However, who do you know utilizes astrology to evolve? Very few people. What happens? Really, a person will know their birth chart in and out. They'll know all the intricacies, all the layers. But then what? Oh, I have a Libra moon. I have a such and such. I have this. I have that. They only utilize their birth chart to explain away their behaviors. So, in the end, you just become a more informed victim, doomed to be on the receiving end of a fatalistic faith. Well, in general, that's how most of us perceive astrology, because the energetic aspect of astrology has been stripped away from us. The true goal of astrological knowledge is to arrive at the point of perfect actions. What is a perfect action? A perfect action is an action that leaves no elemental residue, i.e., you use the proper element when you're supposed to use it and you don't substitute it with another one. I'll give you an example, and I spoke about this in my video called Calling Forth the Elements. You could go check that video out. You were supposed to stand your ground, which is the earth element, but you didn't. Instead, you started rationalizing and you used the air element. Or you were supposed to acknowledge something, the air element, but you didn't. Instead, you lashed out and you used anger, the fire element. So, what am I trying to tell you? I'm telling you that within the knowledge of astrology are the cheat codes for you to evolve your consciousness. So there's two things you have to do. First, you have to work towards changing the placement within your birth chart. Because believe it or not, through your work, that's your candle work, that's your meditation, that's your introspection, that's your crystal work, whatever it is you do, that's your altar work, you have the possibility to change the unfavorable placements on your birth chart, and finally, you have the possibility to completely transcend your birth chart. The way all of this is achieved is A, through dream decoding, and B, through candle magic or planetary magic. I'll give you guys a little secret. Everyone who's taken my dream decoding class knows that dreams are nothing but unconscious astrological themes being played out. And that's the point. We want to get out of being dragged and pushed into dreams. We want to create the Psychonautic cube of divine individuality, a yang center of pure masculine individuality. So long as you haven't mastered the 12 lessons contained in the karmic yin cube of the unconscious collective, you won't be able to achieve individuation. Individuation means that you have the proper personal will and that you conjure up the images, settings, and sites that you want. In other words, when you've achieved the yang cube of divine individuality, you are no longer in need or receiving images from the yin unconscious images of the collective unconscious. Now you're receiving images from what you call your higher self, and you can actually begin the true journey of your spiritual path. But if you haven't achieved individuality, you belong to your DNA. You belong to the lower breath. You belong to your genetics. You belong to the unexamined animalistic impulses that make up your astrological birth chart. But guess what? In the same way that there's animalistic tendencies, images, impulses, instincts within your birth chart, the divine aspects are also hidden, but you have to know how to read it. And so, individuation means that you have a proper personal will and that you conjure up the images, settings, and sites that you want. You are an individual when you are able to have perfection, perfect actions, and actions. It's not about theories, fantasies, wishes, wants, speculations. It's about actions. But those actions come in the way of something that is very simple. Your words, air, your fire, your impulses, your emotions. In the end, your daily life and how you utilize the 4 elements in your daily life determines how you advance. It's not about a ritual. It's not about taking drugs. It's not about taking psychedelics. It's not about getting initiated. It's about perfecting yourself as a human being. That's really what it is. So, right now, most of us are stuck in the karmic yin cube of the unconscious collective. This includes the so-called spiritual people, the so-called astral projectors, the so-called astral travelers. The yin cube of the unconscious collective is the resting place of everything that is old. And it is ruled by inertia, group thinking, and mostly the spirit of vengeance. It's like you're living wearing secondhand clothing, but those secondhand clothing articles are secondhand emotions, secondhand thoughts, secondhand impulses, secondhand intuitions, secondhand dreams, secondhand beliefs. You don't have a direct relationship with reality because you're living from the past. That's something I've said once in one of my videos. I said, how can they talk about the power of the now when the makeup of you, the entire genetic structure of you belongs to the past? Everything about you is in the past. The yang cube of divine individuality represents the forever future, something that is truly in sync with the so-called divine now. It is ruled by pure self-forgiveness and self-love. This cube becomes the personal and individual house within which all of your personal divine revelations will be transmitted to you. So, now let's get into how you're supposed to understand your astrological birth chart and how you're supposed to understand astrology. I like to say to begin the understanding of astrology with this example. I don't know if I've said it in the past video on astrology, but I'll say it again. The planets represent the bullets. That's the energy. The zodiac signs represent the guns. That's how the energy is being transmitted. And the houses represent where you're shooting those bullets. But I'm not going to get into the houses today. I'm just going to stick to the planets and to the elements. So let's get into what astrology is and how to make it simple, accessible, and actionable. A planet in a sign is an element going into a specific environment. Here's a way that I came up to illustrate what you're supposed to get from this. When a specific planet, which is really an element, goes through a sign, it has 4 modes, or what they call dignities. I suggest you guys go and read about the 4 main dignities of or within astrology. Those dignities are domicile, exalted, detriment, or fallen. But for the sake of making this video simple, I'll focus on 3 of those modes or dignities. So, domicile is the home of the planet. Exalted is not the home of the planet, but it's a sign that is very well adapted to the element's expression. Fallen, or when a planet is fallen, is an environment where the element is not really in a good place. So Mercury in domicile, that's a monk in a library. So you have a monk, he's in the library. That's Mercury at home. Mercury exalted, he's not at home, but he's being treated very, very well. And the sign that he's in accentuates or invigorates his powers. Mercury is exalted in Virgo. That's a monk in a temple. Now, Mercury is fallen. That is a monk in a brothel. Mercury in domicile. Mercury, that's a monk in a library. Mercury exalted, that's a monk in a temple. Mercury fallen, that's a monk in a brothel. I'll do the same thing with Mars. Mars, the warrior. Mars in domicile, that's Mars and Aries, or that's a warrior in a battlefield. Mars exalted, that's a warrior that now has a place or a special place within a government structure. That's Mars exalted in Capricorn. Mars fallen in Cancer, that's a warrior in a garden. Now, remember, although all the zodiac signs are part of this collective psychic garbage or reservoir, some planets, which are elements, are more comfortable in certain signs than others. And this is where we get to the cheat codes. So, just to recap, Mercury in domicile, that's a monk in a library. Mercury exalted, that's a monk in a temple. But Mercury fallen in Pisces, that's a monk in a brothel. I want you guys to take every single planet and to learn and to illustrate for your own selves using the examples that I just gave you, so that when you're reading your birth chart, you're not saying, oh, I have such and such planet. Oh, and based on the astrology, what does that mean? The only thing it means is that naturally your energy in this space will be confronted to X, Y, and Z environment, but you're supposed to, and you can actually change your placements through your work. So this is where the secrets begin. I'm going to give you guys a list of all the planets that where they are exalted and where they fall. The sun is exalted in Aries, but falls in Libra. The moon is exalted in Taurus, but falls in Scorpio. Mercury is exalted in Virgo, but falls in Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces, but falls in Virgo. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, but falls in Cancer. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, but falls in Capricorn. Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, but falls in Taurus. Neptune is exalted in Cancer, but falls in Capricorn. And finally, Pluto is exalted in Aquarius, but falls in Leo. So I want to give you an example from all of those. So for instance, why is Saturn, remember, Saturn's home is Capricorn. However, Saturn is exalted in the sign of Libra, but it falls in the sign of Aries. Why? because Aries represents a sign with no precedent. It is the initiator, the starter, the youthful energy of passion, of impulse, of doing. Let's contextualize. Let's give an example. There's tribes and they've been at war for years and years. At some point, the bloodshed is costly. You want to put in laws, rules, limitations, and codes of conduct to avoid bloodshed. That is Saturn. That's why the sign is exalted in Libra, which is balance, weighing the pros and the cons, seeking harmony and equilibrium, and not in the hot-headed, shoot first, ask questions later, Aries. That's why Saturn is home in Capricorn, exalted in Libra, but it falls in Aries. In the same way, why is the Sun exalted in Libra, but falls, why is the Sun exalted in Aries, but it falls in Libra? Because the Sun is the source of life on this planet. The Sun is the first and the last. For the effects of the Sun, physically, psychically, psychologically, metaphysically, to be at their optimum level, it cannot be conditioned or subdued. We need the Sun to be at full force. It is fire that requires immediate and swift, passionate action. Just like a child expressing what's truly on their heart with no filter, with no prior conditioning based on social norms. That's Aries. That's why the Sun is at home in Leo, but it is exalted in Aries because the conditions within the environment of Aries support the element of the Sun. Yet you put conventions, you put norms, you put balance, you put pros, cons, public opinion, you put harmonizing. Now you have Libra, and the full power of the Sun's expression cannot be expressed within Libra. Studying the exalted and fallen states of the planets in certain signs and the reasons why is your cheat code to learning how to pull planetary energies through candle magic. But before you get there, you must do the dirty work of decoding your dreams and making those pictures crystal clear. You have to extract all the lessons, all the messages, all the warnings from those nightly pictures and change your emotions, your thoughts, your understandings, your states of being, and your actions based on those. And then, and only then, when you've purified your psyche enough, when you've made your dreams impersonal. Because one thing that I teach with dream decoding, if you see your mom, if you see your best friend, if you see your girlfriend, 9 times out of 10, it is not your girlfriend, it is not your mom, it is not your friend, it is a symbol. But we're so emotionally drawn and emotionally magnetized, and we don't have a bird's eye view, so we get sucked in those unconscious collective storylines, and we can't advance further. So it takes years and years and years and years and years and years and years of decoding your dreams, of doing the appropriate altar work, candle work, the meditations, the crystal work, and finally you get to the point where you could see, oh, wait a second, this dream or my intuition or my meditation tells me that my Sun energy is in a Libra environment. I know what I have to do. I simply have to go pull the Sun energy. I simply have to go pull some Sun energy, but transfer the environment or transform the environment from a Libra environment to an Aries environment where the sun will be exalted. And yet, still, even with this cheat code that is a must, the end goal is to have no zodiac signs, a pure yang divine cube where all the four elements are constantly at home and are constantly exalted in every single way possible, where the four elements can function as one. I'm going to give you guys a clue. Within nature, there is a natural phenomenon that represents the unified states of the water, the air, the fire, and the earth. There is a natural phenomenon that represents the unified state of the water, fire, earth, and the air. So, if I had to give you guys advice, take your astrology. Oh, by the way, yeah, I'm definitely now I'm very comfortable with reading the birth chart, so I'm definitely doing the birth chart readings. I'm still doing the dream decoding, but if I could give you guys a piece of advice, take your birth chart the same way that I did. Okay, Mars is a warrior in a battlefield. That's Mars at home. Mars exalted is a warrior in a government setting, like the chief general, the general of defense or something. That's Mars in Capricorn. Mars fallen is a warrior that's restricted to a garden. Why a garden? Because Cancer represents a sign of a home, of nurturing. You know what I'm saying? Learn how to break down every single element. Mars is fire and earth. Mercury is air. Venus is air and earth. Okay, let me do it in order for you guys. Mercury is air. Venus, air, water. Mars, fire, earth. Jupiter is all four elements. Saturn is earth. Uranus is air, water. Neptune is water, fire. And Pluto is earth, the earth element. Now, you do your research. You go get your books on astrology. You go get your books on planetary magic. You find your own correspondences. I'm not saying I have the ultimate science when it comes to what element works is what planet, or what planet is what element. I'm saying based on years and years and years and years of doing it, that's what I came up with for myself, and that's what I give to the people who consult with me. These are the correspondences or the elements that I've associated with the different planets. But all of this to say, you have to break down your birth chart and you have to make it comprehensible. You have to stop the dogmatic, stuck aspect of astrology. Let me give you an example. You could have Saturn in Aries. That's Saturn in a fallen state, because that's the elder in the environment of a youngster, of an impulsive person. Just by your thoughts, just by your meditations, just by your research, just by changing your actions, slowly but surely, you can now bring your Saturn that's in Aries. You could make the Saturn in Aries become a Saturn in Capricorn. You have the possibility to change all of the placements on your birth chart, but that takes work, that takes introspection, that takes research, but more importantly, it takes wits, it takes common sense, and it takes not you following a dogmatic path. You have to think, but you have the blueprint on how to do it, because you know where every single planet is exalted, and you know where every single planet is fallen. You know where every single planet is in domicile. So that's the work that I leave you guys with. Let me see if that's all. Yep, that's it. So comment, share, like, and subscribe. Peace.